welcome back, everybody, to another episode of BCS Community Connections. And today on the podcast, I have none other than Chris Symons. And Chris is co-owner of Aggieland Garage Door here in the Bryan College Station area. And Chris is coming on today to talk about his business, talk about his background a little bit. And we want to give him an opportunity to discuss that with you guys, and so that you get to learn a little bit about him and a little bit about the business that is here in the Bryan College Station area that's been servicing Bryan College Station for 15 years. So, Chris, a little bit about you. Wanted to find out where you grew up, where you're born, what brought you here to Bryan College Station area if you're not from here, and I'm going to let you take it away.
Sure. So, I was born in Waukesha, Wisconsin, so up north, along with my older brother, but we quickly moved down south here. We actually lived in Opelika, Alabama.
Wow.
Up on the mountain.
I know I can't say that, and I most certainly cannot spell it for sure. So
I can say it because I lived there. Otherwise, I don't know if I would.
Makes you a resident.
But we lived there for several years as a kid, but we moved to Texas all before I was in the fourth grade. So College Station is my home. Was
there something specific that brought your family here to College Station?
The business my dad worked for, and still works for. He moved up quickly in the ladder, and then we moved several times. Actually, before we got to College Station, I believe we moved 13 times prior to that.
Wow.
And again, I was in the fourth grade by the time we got to College Station.
Nice.
So a lot of moving, but he moved up quick, and we got here and his business became consistent.
Okay.
To where he could stay here, and he's worked from home from here, and this is where we grew up.
Awesome. And so while you were here, graduated from here?
Graduated from Consolidated, A&M Consolidated,
all right.
Class of 2000.
Nice. Man.
So, makes you feel a little old.
Tell me what you did after high school.
Well, after high school, I did a little bit of blue-collar work, but then 9/11 happened, and I ended up joining the Army.
Okay.
And I did the Army for 3 years. I was a AC technician that quickly got cross-trained to a light wheel mechanic. In other words, when I got to my duty station at Fort Hood, they said, we don't need AC techs. We need wheel mechanics. And I got trained to that. And then we got to Iraq, where it was extremely hot. And they said, hey, fix that AC. And I said, I don't know what to do with that. I don't know. I can put Freon in there, and that's about it.
That's right.
But I could work on trucks quite well by then.
Yeah. So they trained you up to what they needed from you.
Right.
But you had this little background piece that people are like, hey, you're pretty valuable here in Iraq for us.
Well, that's what they thought. And then once I wasn't any good at ACs, I did a lot of convoys.
So 3 years?
I did 1 year in Iraq, and I did 3 years in the U.S. Army.
Okay. And on your deployment to Iraq, you did one deployment?
Right. Just
okay. What brought you back into the States?
Are you talking about the transport back, or
what made
me be done with the Army?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, so I'm kind of impulsive. Joining the Army was impulsive for me.
Right.
And getting out of the Army, it wasn't. Although I enjoyed it, it definitely helped me grow up, see certain aspects of life that you want to be able to see.
A little bit of structure.
Right. It wasn't for me, and so I was in the Army for 3 years, did a 1 year tour in Iraq, and then I got out and I went to school for business.
Okay.
And from there, started a business, started Aggieland Garage Door, and I'm starting to talk a little bit about the business, but only just to touch it and say, as soon as I started the business, I got in a horrible motorcycle wreck, and I hit a F-250 head-on the highway with no helmet, no gear on. Died on impact.
Wow.
I was dead on impact. They life-flighted me to Memorial Hermann, where...
That accident happened here?
It happened on the outskirts of Navasota. I was on 105 heading towards Conroe. I was with my dad and my brother.
Dangerous road.
It is, apparently. I was with my dad and my younger brother, and no hills or no curves, but I went to go past a car or a minivan, they said, and a red F-250 was coming. And they said I got past the car, and it just looked like we didn't see each other, and we hit head on.
Wow.
So I hit the F-250 head on, no helmet, died on impact. That's what saved my life, apparently, because I wasn't bleeding out. Got life-flighted to Memorial Hermann, where Dr. Red Duke, I'm not sure if you're familiar with who that is, but where Dr. Red Duke was my doctor.
I'm from San Antonio, man. Red Duke was on, for most people that don't know, Red Duke did a series on, I think it was KSAT, like virtually almost at least once a week, if not twice a week. I think I saw him on her big mustache.
Right.
Yeah, it's about as country as you can get. Of course, if you're going to be named Red Duke, you probably should be about as country as you get too. So, great guy, great doctor, obviously.
Right. He saved my life.
Yep.
You know, if it, from what I understand, I was told, you know, he's got 50-50 shot of living, and if he can make it to past the first 48 hours, he's got a good chance. But that was Dr. Red Duke telling my parents that.
Yeah.
I'm saying, man, but he saved my life and got me structured to where I could get a new leg, a new arm, or even though I don't wear the arm too often, but I wear the leg every day to get around.
So, in case people miss it, your father was with you and your brother were with you? Both
they were on Harleys, and I was on a sports bike.
Yeah.
But yeah, they after I was life flighted, they had the choice of riding their bikes to the hospital or taking a ride from the police officers. And they rode the bikes up there because you don't want to leave the bikes.
Sure.
You got to go get them.
Oh, yeah.
But they rode to the hospital, called my mom on the way there or before they left. And thankfully, they got there at the same time because my mom was coming into the emergency room as my parents or my dad and my brother were talking to the doctor. And they were able to tell my mom the truth about what happened.
Yeah.
And, you know, again, this is all stuff that I was told. I don't remember any of it.
Yeah.
But apparently... a lot of family and friends came and consumed the hallways and, you know, shared stories with other families of tragedies, making it and not making it.
Yeah, a ton of prayers, obviously.
Right. And from what I understood is they were, after the first 48 hours, they said, you know, I had a 50-50 shot, made it past that. They were allowing visitors. And from what I understand, they really had to start preparing people to come see me because I didn't look anything like me. I was very bloated. And, of course, wasn't talking yet, and so
just the trauma to your body,
right?
Yeah, that would make sense.
But they said I'd be in the hospital for 6 months, and I rolled out of there 5 weeks later.
Wow.
Oh yeah, we had just started Aggieland Garage Door. It was actually just me, and we had just opened doors. I was taking phone calls in the hospital. It was a very smart business move for my dad to keep my mind focused on something else other than what was going on. But I was taking phone calls in the hospital, and we got home, and my younger brother and older brother came on to the company, and Ryan, my older brother, knew garage doors. Keith got trained up in it, and man, we've been going strong ever since.
Would you say that involvement in the business, because it's brand new really to you at that point, would you say that identity of, you know, I'm starting this thing and I don't want this thing to fall through the floor because of what's happened to me here. Would you say that identity really kind of tied you back and helped you in your recovery?
My family helped me in the recovery, and my dad, you know, and my mom focused me on the business. That's definitely part of it, having a business to stay focused on. But I've got great, amazing family that really supported me through everything. Kept me focused on doing what I needed to because I wasn't focused on what I needed to be focused on. But they helped me be there and helped me be there until I could do it myself.
Yeah, I mean, you've got a new lease on life. Obviously, you're you know, at this point in this lease on life that you've been given, it's now challenging to kind of figure out, okay, what can I do? What can I not do? You know, there's a lot of things they're going to tell you can't do, just like you're going to need to spend 6 months in here and you spend 5 weeks. I'm sure with that same mentality, you probably met your recovery of working through processes and figuring out what my body can do and what my body can't do right now to accelerate that as well too, so that you could try and go, okay, I need to know what normal is going to be for me here so I can build from this platform forward. I need to know what I'm going to be capable of doing, what I'm not going to be capable of doing. But in those particular situations, doctors usually always try to give you, you know, this is what you're going to be doing for the rest of your life. This is what you're going to be facing. What I find interesting is people usually meet those challenges in one of two ways. They either sink down into it and they just go, okay, this just is what it is, or they find ways to work around what those recommendations are going to be to create a life for themselves that is more fulfilling than they probably even saw in the beginning when all of that happened. So here you are going, okay, I've lost a leg, I've lost an arm in this particular situation, but I'm here.
Right.
You know, I'm here. I've got a business, I've got an identity, I've got a family that's going to support me. And all of that is probably just super critical in bouncing into what your new life is going to look like.
Well, so it's interesting. You said that our definition of normal, or that the definition of normal needed to change. That was verbatim the words from Dr. Red Duke, that I needed to change my definition of normal. And I tell him no. Normal is 2 arms and 2 legs, and I am not normal.
Right.
But at the same time, I was never really that normal in the first place, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
And that's why I had told him, and I'm very reality focused.
Yeah.
When I saw my arm and leg was gone, I don't know if I want to say I was okay with it, but it was reality. So I was processing it and trying to move forward with it.
Yeah.
Whereas they told me I had wrecked my motorcycle, and I was pretty upset with that. I said, no, I did not wreck my bike.
Are you sure I wrecked it?
I've been riding for so long, and I did no way. And then they brought in a piece of the bike. And if I remember correctly, my mom told me I cussed her and threw the piece across the room and said, that's not my bike, get it out of here. I was very upset about the bike. But this, I could see it, I was processing it, was reality, let's move forward.
Right.
And that's where we're at. And after 5 weeks, I went into rehab to learn how to walk again and heal up and learn to use an arm, which I actually put off for much longer than I probably needed to. But again, I don't really use it that often.
Right.
It feels more like a paperweight that's hanging from me. But I walk and I do everything I need to. I shuffle a deck of cards better than anyone I know.
Nice.
So there's advantages and disadvantages to it, of course, but I try to focus on the positive.
So this is really the first time you and I have sat down and met face to face. We've met through the business. I actually used you, and we were talking about that in pre-show when we sat down. But one of the things, I was in a business luncheon meeting that you were a part of. And one of the things that I found very interesting is I think Sam was there. Sam Smith was putting on this deal, and he made like this passing comment to you that, for most people who maybe don't know Sam or maybe don't know you that are part of that, would probably like, wow, that was pretty brutal, and you just kind of take that in stride as joking and good-natured ribbing and things like that. And for you, I think the thing that I noticed in that process is you don't look at it and go, hey, listen, man, people obviously realize I don't have an arm and I've got a prosthetic leg going on here. It's not like you got to like sidestep around that with me or anything like that.
Right.
Like, this is who I am. Don't be afraid to talk about it. It's, it's not the pink elephant in the room. I kind of understand, that this is where I'm at. And you may have questions, you may not have questions. But I think you meet that with just like, hey, man, you want to ask? Great. Let's talk about it. You don't? You want to make a joke about it? That's great. Let's move on. I mean, I am perfectly okay with where I'm at because this is who I am and who I'm not bound by any of these things. I'm not really, in most cases, restricted by any of these things. This is probably the thing in your life that has probably focused you and maybe made you even better as far as being able to understand and have a better appreciation for the things that maybe, like you said in the beginning, like, probably wasn't on the right track on a few things that I'm doing here and there, but this really kind of helped me recenter my life and kind of refocus on what it was that was important to me. And I think when people go through traumatic situations like that in their life, they're better able to identify what's important and what's not important. You really kind of take inventory, I guess, on what it is that you're doing. And so for you, as a part of that major inventory, was this business getting off the ground and getting it rolling.
Right.
And you wanted to make sure that, again, you were putting everything into this business because it wasn't really an option for you that, well, okay, I'm incapacitated here at this moment and the business is just going to have to go on pause. You're sitting there going, listen, man, I'm still here. I'm taking calls. I'm running the business. I'm doing everything I need to do to ensure that this thing keeps running.
Right.
And so the start of this, you started up prior to that. Why a garage door company?
That's a pretty good question. So my family is actually familiar with garage doors. I have other family that works in other places in the garage door world, and it was a recommendation from my dad that said, he knows I was going to school for business. I didn't know exactly where I wanted to go with it yet. And he said, if you want to know garage doors, I can probably help you with that a little bit and do you one better. I'll give you the loan to start, and gave me a good family interest rate on the loan, and so it was hard to say no to it. Not to mention it was something I was interested in.
Sure.
Not not necessarily garage doors, but being doing a service company, and then doing something that we could differentiate ourselves from other people.
Yeah, and we were discussing the idea that garage door companies, it's one of those deals, it's like, this is something that's never going to go away. There's not going to be this moment where technology is going to overtake an industry where every house is going to have a garage door on it, and all of a sudden magically that's going to change. You're in an industry that has literally been around forever, probably since you had the first car roll into a particular, house or whatever. Yeah. So, I mean, you've lined yourself up with a company that future growth is really just in the matter of how many houses you want to put in the Bryan College Station area and even further out, because I know you guys service outside of here as well too. And the idea that garage doors are not going to last forever. And so whether it's maintenance that needs to happen on them, whether it's, I was laughing and telling you earlier that my mother-in-law, she imprinted her license plate into my garage door one time. I mean, we all will have stories when it comes to garage door fiascos of how things happen. And you were like, oh man, I've seen just about everything under the sun when it comes to what can happen to a garage door. But I think what's interesting in the business, I was telling people, I used you early on. My mom had a need for a garage door, and literally she was in an older condo, probably the original door that was on that thing. It's fallen off the hinges. I think we literally hit the button one day and it literally just almost kind of fell apart where it was at. I didn't have any recommendations of who to use in the Bryan College Station area. And I pick up the phone and I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to call this Aggieland Garage Door and kind of see what's going on here. And you answer the phone. And so, and I'm just sitting there like, hey, Chris, here's what I got going on, man. I got my mom in this place. I'm really not 100% invested in this place. This isn't going to be a place she's going to live forever. And I don't want to spend a whole bunch of money on that. I just need to get a garage door replaced. She does. The worst part about that was she didn't even drive. She didn't even have a car to put in the garage. But because it's in a condo and there's a homeowners association that kind of frowns on the idea of having this half-cocked door sitting in the way, I'm like, I got to have something done here. So I said, I really don't want to spend a whole ton of money. And so we started off that conversation, and you told me, well, let me drive by and take a look at it, kind of see where you're at and see what you got going on. We never met face to face in that conversation. You drove by, took a look at it, gave me a call and said, hey, so those doors, I don't think they make those doors anymore. They're probably older than you and I put together maybe. But at the same time, you looked at it and you went, okay, so I've got some doors. I mean, I've got all kinds of doors I can sell you, but I've got this door. It's not super expensive. It's not the exact color where you're at, because I know some of these HOAs can get a little particular about what color you're going to put on there. And they were real particular about the idea that it stayed in the same color range. Like I couldn't have a pink door sitting on the outside of my condo or anything. And you're like, but I've got this opportunity where I've got a set of doors that I'm looking to offload. I don't have very many of them. They're a special closeout deal that I bought into. But I think the color is pretty close and I think it'll work. And so if you're interested in it, here's what I'm looking at. And I heard the price and I was already like, well, I figured I was going to spend about 2 or 3 times what you told me. And I said, man, that sounds great. Next thing I know, man, you're like, okay, we can get out there tomorrow. Let me get the guys on board with it. We'll get out there and get it all changed out. Again, I never saw you. You ended up, I think I gave you a credit card over the phone. You guys came out, took care of it, and it was literally seamless. And I drive by. Not only did you guys put this door on, but then you put hardware on the door that none of the other doors had in there. So now it looked even more upper scale than the rest of the condos that were in there. I got a brand new door on it. I've got brand new hardware that's on there, and it was phenomenal. And just the response time, the ability to almost make it turnkey, where it was just like, we'll get it fixed, get it taken care of for you, led me down the road to then use your company as a referral. So every time I had somebody that had garage door damage or whatever, I'm like, man, you need to pick up the phone and call Chris. So got an opportunity to sit down with you today and remind you of that story of that particular deal. But then it led me into the questioning of, the customer service aspect of that. I was telling you in pre-show, like, it's not uncommon, probably especially in this business, for people that are selling garage doors or looking they're looking to make a profit while growing their business at that same time frame, that they'll start that quote on a high-end door. And what really stuck with me was when I told you, like, listen, I don't want to spend a whole bunch of money. You didn't even look at it from the standpoint of go, okay, well, I probably can't start high here, but let me start middle and kind of work my way down from there. You literally just like, hey, listen, I got this deal, and you're probably not going to find a better deal on it. And you're right, I wasn't going to find a better deal than what
not on that one. That was a good deal.
Yeah, I know when we got started, you were like, man, I still wish I had those doors. That would be great.
Right now, they would have been great.
Yeah, and so talk to me a little bit on the customer service side of the business of what you've tried to grow in the 15 years that you've been there, where customer service really sits at with you, and how you view your customer service in difference to other garage door businesses that are out there for people.
Well, probably the main difference is I don't sleep well if I don't take care of my customers. I really don't. My priority is our customers, and that's really the key. That's our secret.
Right.
I treat every customer like they're my only customer. We kind of talk to like I'm selling one door at a time.
Yeah.
Even though I've got 90 plus doors on order right now.
Yeah.
Every single one of those were sold with detail, with concern for the customer on what their wants and what they didn't want, and what, if they didn't want to spend the most money possible, or if they do, there's certain there's a customer for every garage door and vice versa.
Yeah. Well, and you can run them all the way across. You're going to have the guy who was like me, like, not really invested, no, I got to fix it, don't want to spend a lot of money, all the way up to the guy who's built their dream home, retirement home on a golf course somewhere.
Right.
I've got an 8,000 square foot home with 6-car garage that I want it to look spectacular with wooden doors and all that kind of stuff. You can go that whole range. You have the ability to go both sides, from taking care of the low-end customer to taking care of the high-end customer. And really for you, there's no difference in whether you're low-end or high-end, you're my customer.
Right.
And so, and that's evident because, this last year, you won the Eagle Reader Choice Award for 2021.
Right.
In 19 and 20, you won Best of Brazos.
That's right.
So and the only reason you didn't win is because they took the garage door part out for probably 2021. And
they did take it out for 21.
That's all right. We'll boycott until they bring it back so that we can get you in 2022. So, but that speaks to the level of customer service that you're building in the Bryan College Station area with your customers, in that these guys go on and then they reward you on the backside of, and you were saying earlier, anybody can go to my reviews, and look on Google, look on Facebook, look at the reviews that are on there.
Next Door Neighbor app.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Oh, yeah, man. I think if not anything, if you're talking about something that entered the market that really had traction, that I don't know that a lot of people felt it was going to have the traction that it did, that Nextdoor app is one of them.
I love it.
I remember when it literally came out, it was just kind of like, hey, I'm in the neighborhood and just good to meet y'all. Just wanted to let y'all know. But it really has become a place of like people going and asking for recommendations on repair, on whatever opinion. I can't tell you how many times I've seen somebody post a picture of a dead snake on there asking what kind of snake it was or whatever,
That's probably the hottest topic, yes.
That's right, yeah. And then the people who chime in on that, why'd you kill the snake? It goes down a rabbit hole over there. But you got these guys that are on there, and it literally starts with that kind of question. Hey, man, I need some garage door repair. Who do y'all recommend? And it just starts rolling in. But you can see people on there constantly putting your business out there as one of the contacts on it. I think the other part in customer service that really kind of fits in with where you guys are at is the fact that you don't have a ton of employees.
No, we don't. So we're completely family owned and operated. So it's me and my 3 brothers my 2 brothers that own the business. And then we also have one nephew that's coming in, another one that may, but we have one nephew that's coming in right now. And I think we plan on staying that way. We've had 1 or 2 guys from outside the family that were like family. We've known them for 20 plus years. They worked for us for a good while, but they ended up leaving. And we like having that control of the business of what the quality is going to be, because we all care 100% about the business more than anybody else would.
Well, and it's hard to hire people outside of the people who are invested in the company that have that same desire, have that same driven focus, that one customer at a time, one job at a time, to understand that impact on that company as well too. When it's the three of you, and y'all were initially growing the business with the three of you working in there, and now you're expanding that into other family members that are coming in, everybody's invested because it's the family name in that business too. Right. I mean, it's not in there that it doesn't say Symons Garage Door Company. It says Aggieland, which really you've taken on. There's a difference. If I took on Symons Garage Door Company and I took on Aggieland, there's a much bigger investment and a lot more pressure in Aggieland than there is in Symons.
Right.
But everybody knows that they're going to be looking at that family name that's leading that business up. And everybody understands that their part of the investment in that company is driven to one purpose and one purpose only, which is to get the reputation of the company built for referrals, to get people out there who talk back into the community, whether it's through Nextdoor app or Facebook or Instagram or whatever, to say, these are the guys that you need to go with. You're literally the face of the company when it comes to, like, if somebody calls and says, hey man, I need, new garage door, and you're going to go out and measure that out and answer the questions that they have. You're going to be the face that they're going to see. Is that correct?
99% of the time. Every once in a while, in fact, tomorrow starts a little mini vacation for me, so my brothers will be out there to take care of you.
Tagger it.
99% of the time, it's me.
Yeah, and on the phone as well too. If they call in, they're probably going to reach your cell phone or whatever. And so you guys, knowing that it's a small base business with very few hands that are involved in it. You were just commenting saying that you got 90 doors that are on order. Well, those are 90 doors that have to be hung. 3 guys doing the work that are trying to get out there and also do this, plus still answer all these calls, take these other orders. To me, it would seem like that's almost nonstop. Like it just continues to go.
For 15 years, we've done it, and we've done it well. Of course, we've learned, made mistakes along the way. And right now, this is unprecedented times. And of course, this is going on in a lot of industries. But I can speak personally into the garage door world that, a year and a half ago, when you ordered a custom door with me, it was 4 to 6 months or 4 to 6 weeks.
Right.
And now, if you order a basic white door but add glass to it, that's going to be 4 to 6 months too.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Everything's delayed. You can't get product right now. Pricing has gone up 81% since the beginning of the year.
Wow.
And
now I know why you want those other doors back.
Exactly. And the crazy thing with the 81% is we're taking more orders than we ever have.
Yeah.
And again, unprecedented times. Never seen anything like this. I've joked a lot the past year that I'm no longer the salesman. I'm just the order taker. Customers call and I say, okay, what do you need? And that's what we're doing right now, is just trying to keep up with everything. And we're doing well with that. But, the doors that are coming in, some of them are coming in damaged because, again, just everything that's going on.
Sure.
So then you've got to readjust from there and hopefully get that door in on time. But everybody's been real patient, whether it be customers, manufacturers, other owners of whatnot, because everybody's doing the same thing right now.
Yeah, it's not going to matter who you pick up the phone and call. I mean, you guys are ordering the same spots, same type of problems. I think what's interesting to hear in the community is things are starting to return to normal. For you guys, there was never such a thing really as this downtime of like, well, nobody was calling. I was asking like during COVID and everybody shut up in their house. Like, I'm assuming y'all's business probably phenomenal when people were able to sit at home and like investigate everything in their house and start taking inventory of the stuff that needs to be fixed. I think 2020 was the biggest record for remodel and home builders, I think on record, just simply because people were at home, They were working from home, they got to see things, I've been paying attention to that, but I can go to work and worry about it later. And now all of a sudden you're spending your 24 hours in your 4 walls for a while. and you're like, okay, it's probably time that gets taken care of, and I'm here. I can actually be here to be on site when they come. So I'd imagine probably the same thing for you guys, as people were out there like, it's probably time to repair that door, and now all of a sudden the phone starts ringing, and you never have this moment of downtime, I'm assuming. Is that right?
Well, we were told by all our manufacturers to say, all right, hey, this is going to happen with everybody. It's going to slow down. Y'all buckle up and, count your pennies, make sure you're nice and tight here. And then it just took off, and it still hasn't stopped. We're doing double what we were doing. I mean, literally double what we were doing this time last year.
And in an environment where turnover is probably high for those manufacturers, where you guys are sitting again in an operation where you don't have to babysit or manage a whole ton of people. Most of the people that you're talking about are people who are invested in the company with you,
right,
literally. And now all of a sudden you guys are out there, so y'all don't have to worry about this inconsistency of, well, I had this person working for me, they don't work anymore, now I'm training up somebody brand new. Y'all stay consistent through that whole process. The problem really becomes these manufacturers that are out there in big manufacturing environments that are providing these doors for you guys. Probably see people that, they're working in major warehouses, major manufacturing plants. They see turnover within the plant. Even in some cases may see shutdown within a plant where somebody ends up having an outbreak or something like that, or they've got to quarantine people because of an outbreak. And they just start falling further and further behind. We already know that a lot of materials in the market are already, and especially if it's materials that are being sourced from overseas, that, man, you're already going to be in a boat, literally. I mean, these things are sitting out at sea. They're not getting into port fast. What normally would take a week to get here now takes 6 to 8 weeks to get here on a boat because of 20% capacity that they're allowing at ports to come in. So everybody gets impacted, and unfortunately, that's a trickle down problem.
Right.
Like in nobody is sitting there looking at a garage door company when they call you and they go, "Hey, Chris, I got a garage door I need to have replaced. Can you come out and take a look at it?" You go out, you quote them. They go, "Okay, just give me basic this door or whatever." And you've got to order that. You're at the mercy of the manufacturer to get that to you. The customer, though, doesn't see the manufacturer as the problem in a lot of cases. They go, "Hey, Chris, what's going on with my door, man? I talked to you 4 weeks ago. I still hadn't heard anything as far as that deal. What's going on?" It's like, "Hey, man, I'm trying to keep you as abreast as I can to what's going on with it. I want you to understand, we're just waiting on this." And one of the things that didn't hit me until you were talking about it was you were talking about, then I get the door in. Maybe they've replaced some heads and bodies at that manufacturer that aren't as trained up, aren't as invested, aren't as skilled as some of the labor that they had prior to COVID. And now you're starting to see parts that are coming in where you don't get a full door that is in perfect condition.
Right.
Maybe
you just don't get a full door.
Yeah. You get two pieces of a 5-panel door or something like that, so, but you're also seeing an uptick in things hitting y'all where there's damage to the door. Now all of a sudden you're like, okay, I've got 5 panels that I'm supposed to put in on this door. 3 of them are dented. Now you've got to spend time back with the manufacturer again. Hey, I'm going to need 3 more panels to this door to get shipped back out to me. Now you're starting the clock over again because now, and you kind of hope they escalated on their side a little bit.
They do.
Yeah, but even escalation is not next day in some cases. Right. So then you were talking about I'd get another shipment in, and 2 of the 3 are good, and now I've got 1 that's got a dent in it. And so you can kind of see, I guess, that trickle down effect happening in the market from manufacturers, where also maybe QC is not happening as well. Can you please make sure somebody looks at this thing before they box it up? And these guys have been boxing and shipping long enough to kind of understand, like, it's not like they're just throwing some butcher paper around it and throwing it on a truck somewhere. I mean, they're packaging it up and everything else, but it needs to make it to you.
I think they do throw it on the truck. I think they're just...
Oh, yeah. Well, I don't have a doubt about that in some cases. We've seen some stuff come in, seen boxes, too, that look a little rough. And, then I see some of these TikTok videos of these guys that are running mail trucks and UPS and stuff like that. And I'm going, oh man,
just trying to get it done.
This could happen anywhere in between this deal.
Right.
But you guys, literally, it's your name attached to it.
Right.
But you're also committed enough to go, listen, I'm not going to put up a substandard door. If you pay me for a brand new door, by the time my guys walk away from all of this, you're going to have a brand new, undamaged, undented door. It may not be in the time frame that I really hope it's going to be, because I'm at the mercy of these guys, but I'm going to promise you that it is going to happen, and it's going to happen cost efficiently. It's not like you're sitting out there going, okay, well, we'll charge you to come out and do that last one. I mean, everything is all inclusive in that price.
Right.
It's really just a matter of, let me help you. I may put this dented section up so that your door's secured, but my guys will come back out and we'll make sure that we take care of all of this stuff. And then by the time it's all said and done, you'll have a brand new door. And that's unfortunate, because again, the longer that takes, the longer, if you've got a customer that's understanding, and I think really probably the communication piece from you is probably the most critical thing that you've probably found helps that situation. But if that customer's understanding in that deal, then at the tail end of all of it, they have exactly what they got into the boat with you for.
Well, you manage expectations.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's the key.
Yeah, and if you're sitting there going, listen, I hate that we're here and I haven't done this for you in the time frame that we committed to, and I'm pushing on my end, because I'm sure at some point as well, you're like over there going, listen, this isn't your name that's on this job. This is my name and my company that's on the job here. I need you guys to do your job.
Truthfully, and maybe at the beginning I may have done that a little bit, but right now I've gotten to the point of being I sympathize with my manufacturers, because I know for every disappointment they give me, you know how many more they're giving to other guys that are calling in and that are really reaming them. And I've been reamed a couple of times by customers. And I understand it's frustrating.
Sure.
But me getting reamed doesn't help, and me reaming my manufacturer, it's not going to make that door get there any faster. So what I try to do is make light of it and give a couple jokes. Maybe at the end of it all, I'm a little more serious. Okay, well, so we're still going to focus on this, and you'll give me an update on when this is going to come in. But I'd rather them want to call me than not.
Yeah, and building a relationship that's positive, as opposed to like, oh no, it's that dude, man, that like ripped us a new one the last time. Guess what happened this time? We shipped them another dented piece of door, So, yeah, I mean, I can understand that, because that relationship also works both ways. In that particular situation, there'll come a time frame that their staff will get trained back up again, and they'll be back to where they need to get to, and you'll see those damages being minimized. But now all of a sudden, if you've built a positive relationship with them, they're going to be a lot more adept in fulfilling your order quickly, getting it out. Or even in cases where you've got situations that you need their help with something, whether that's replacing something, parts missing, whatever the case may be, they're probably going to be willing to jump through a hoop for you based on how you've treated them, as opposed to the idea of like, I'd hate to say or suggest that there are manufacturers out there that might take a little bit longer for customers that maybe didn't treat them right or whatever. But if I know that I'm working with a client that is a good customer for me, orders regularly, and treats us with respect in the process, even when we haven't done right, well, then I'm going to really try and step my game up for that customer. If I've got something that we did where we didn't produce somebody's stuff correctly and we messed it up, and that customer approaches me with going, hey, I understand things happen. If you guys could just replace it, that'd be great, as opposed to, and they blow up on you and everything else. The first thing that I want to do is get that customer's job out to them as quick as possible and make sure that it's right. But I can still get the same point across either way.
Right.
One works to my benefit. The other one doesn't sound so great. So, and I think what's really interesting is we would live in a society of right here, right now. Like, people want it. And we just continue to build on it. You think about Amazon, right? It used to be like you order on Amazon, it'd take like a week to get your stuff.
Now, stuff comes next day.
Yeah, and now people are mad when it doesn't come next day. You're like, you said it was going to be here tomorrow, and something happens, and you get a one day off on there, where it didn't get shipped out in time or whatever. stuff, even now in some markets, they're setting examples of 2-hour delivery. Like you can order it and they will have it to your place in 2 hours. And so as we just keep tightening down the expectation of what's considered normal or what's considered acceptable in those worlds, you get a society that right here, right now is never satisfied in a lot of cases. Like I think back, think about mailing a letter, right? Even way back when letters were actually a thing, when we didn't email people and all that stuff. You could send a letter. There was no such thing as that letter got there the next day. I could send it from San Antonio to Houston, and it might take 3 or 4 days before that thing got there. And you actually had to plan when you sent Christmas cards and things like that. Now you put something in the letter at a post office or whatever, and it's within a certain postal distance code. It's there next day. And
unless you're in College Station, then it goes.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, it's got to go to Houston and get rerouted. Yeah. The people who live in College Station can appreciate that statement. People who are outside of College Station listening are like, wait, what? Yeah, it's got to go somewhere else, and then it gets sorted to come back. And that's true to the fact, even if it's local. Like it goes to Houston to get sorted to come back to get shipped back into College Station, which is crazy. But that's another podcast somewhere else.
It is.
Wherever the postmaster's at, he can plan a podcast with us, I guess, or something. But we're setting up an environment where the right here, right now crowd of customers then is met with a COVID symptomed society of listen, you go places and we need you to be patient with us if we're a restaurant. Like we were in a restaurant last night. We were in a restaurant last night where there were literally 3 people working in the restaurant. 3. From back of kitchen to front of the place. And this isn't a small restaurant.
Right.
And as a consumer going in there, I understand they're shorthanded. I mean, there's a big sign on the door also that was like, hey, please be patient with us. Before you even get in there, you understand what you're getting into. And it is interesting to me to watch people walk into those places. And, my wife and I go in there and we've seen so much of it now that you just kind of become, we don't even look at it as like, listen, man, like we got to get up out of here. We need our stuff. We look at it as time for us to be able to chat and talk to each other and catch up and everything else. But then you can look across the way at somebody who's sitting over at the table and they're like, ma'am, is my food going to come out to me soon? I mean, I've been sitting here for 15 minutes and my food hadn't made it out to me because maybe they've serviced that restaurant before and it's been 5 minutes before it hits the table.
Right.
My wife asked a simple question last night and I thought it was kind of funny. She goes, well, what can we get y'all to drink? My wife goes, can you make a skinny margarita? And the girl kind of looks at her like, there's 3 of us. Who's the bartender tonight? Like, who's gonna pour this? And there's this long, and my wife goes, you know what? You just give me a regular margarita if you need to. That's perfectly fine also. And as the girl leaves the table, I look at my wife and I go, one of these 3 is the bartender. That probably is not normally the bartender, just trying to be like, please don't give us any crazy drink orders tonight. And I'm like, you're over here asking for a skinny margarita. And they're like, listen, we got the like slushy margarita that runs in the machine with the mix, man. Is that good for you? Like I can
put it in a skinny cup.
How about a half a cup of it? And you just kind of drink it really slow or something like that. I mean, you learn to either accept it or you get really disappointed and you leave frustrated all the time when you're in these kind of places.
And what does that do for you?
Doesn't do anything other than just piss you off and make you mad and make you go home and rant about it. And this also kind of leads into when people want to take a business to the whipping post publicly on social media without reaching back and contacting owners of companies or managers or whatever, just to alert them of what's going on. And I'm sure those guys know. Like in that situation, you're not going to convince me that the owner of that restaurant doesn't know what's going on in his restaurant when there's only 3 people in there. And it's not his intention to go, you know what, man, I can make a lot more money if I only put 3 people in this place to work. It's because it's becoming harder to find people to work. It's becoming harder to keep it consistent because in that industry, especially in the food industry, how they're paying people is, I mean, you got to up your rates now just simply because people aren't willing to work for the prices that they were before. but that also means that the prices of everything's going to move up. Yeah, we'd love to pay. I mean, I don't want to go to McDonald's and tell my daughter, hey, your nugget meal that we paid $5 for is now $8. But that's what's going to happen. I mean, you're not going to be able to pay people a bunch more money and it not be somewhere down the road. Like you were saying earlier, 81% increase in material supplies for doors has to be met somewhere. Like, right. So if the guy calls you that's used you before and they go, hey, Chris, man, my wife ran into the door again. I'm going to need another door like the one you got me 4 years ago. Well, yeah, you can get them the same door probably from 4 years ago, but it's not going to be the same price.
Right.
And really in the same boat of everything else. The labor expense is going to go up. The cost of the goods is going to go up. I mean, so as material costs go up, so does the rest of the stuff. And so really what starts separating things, I mean, where people are looking at a cost of living increase across the board, you go to the grocery store, you see it, you go to the gas station, you see it. It really becomes now the value of my dollar is met with the customer service that meets the goods that I'm looking to buy. So now your customer service becomes even more critical in the business because that door's not the same price that it was 4 years ago. It's gone way up in price, not by your choice. I mean, nobody said put a cross on on Aggieland Garage Door and make it a nonprofit organization, Chris. Right. I mean, you're still in the business to pay the bills, to pay the guys that are there with you as investors in the company as well too. But you got to also sell that down as our customer service hasn't changed. Like we're the same customer service guys that we were from day one that we are now in year 15. And no matter what happens with the price of garage doors and everything else, if they turn to gold, we'll still be those guys that you're always going to be able to depend on to put these things in right, to be able to service it, to give you the warranty behind it. And you just said, like, this is where we're at. Like, this is it for us. Like, I've invested in this company. My brother's invested in this company. My nephew's going to invest in this company. We're all going to be invested in this company locally. So as the funny part about it is your brother may be able to walk around town. Nephew may be able to walk around town and just kind of put a hat on or whatever. Chris walks around town. People know that's Chris.
Right. Well,
kind of hard to miss you, right?
The whole arm and leg, and maybe the tattoos, definitely.
Yeah.
You know who I am, which is good and bad because customers see me from 10 years ago at Lowe's and say, "Chris, you remember you did my garage door?" And I have no clue who you are.
What's going on?
But if you show me your house, I'll probably remember if it was us or not.
As soon as I told you the condo and where it was at, you're like, oh, I remember that.
Right. And I started describing it to you. And my memory is horrible. I don't ever remember anything. But I remember our jobs. Yeah,
it's definitely, and it's a unique area to be replacing a door in too. So you kind of know when you're in there. But I think that customer service piece speaks back into your business because no matter what happens with the pricing there, you guys are always going to stay competitive. You're always going to make sure that your pricing is top notch, that customers, I think, if you do business well, you don't really want to be the business that sits there and screams about your prices. You really want to be the business that kind of sits in and says, you're more than welcome to take our quote anywhere else.
Right.
That your confidence level is high enough to go, you're not going to find somebody else that's going to be at this price. And if you do, here's some questions to ask.
Well, you're about to hit the nail on the head there. That people don't know is that there are so many different types of garage doors. When it comes to your basic 16x7, which most people have here,
right?
You can get that door for, well, now they cost about $2,000.
Yep.
Maybe a little less, but an industry standard one will cost you around $2,000. But just because there's industry standard stuff out there, doesn't mean there's not non-industry standard stuff out there that you can also purchase.
Right.
That'll look about the same from the outside,
but
there's a lot of differences in what's considered builder grade doors.
Yep.
Versus industry standard, and then there's even some doors out there that are a little lower than builder grade. But again, they all look about the same.
Yeah. When it comes down, it's facade wise on that door, it's all going to look the same. I can put those doors side by side. Color is going to look the same. indention cuts in it, the stamp outs of it or whatever may look the same. But I think this is, again, where you can kind of speak into this. Like, what do customers need to know in the door, in the garage door industry? There are people who it's their business. They live by it. It is their bread and butter. It's how they support their family. They live in the community that they service. They're not chucking.
That's most of us, actually.
Yeah, and they're not chucking a truck running around. Oh yeah, I can get that piece for you, and I can replace that out. And they've got a little magnet door, thing on their door that look like you can just pull from door to door or whatever, and change that all out. The ones that are local, the ones that are here, the ones that live in the community, the guys that are walking around that are noticeable, that people can identify them. You want to ensure that anywhere where you go, that so does your reputation of your company, right? So that people who, if they catch you, go, "Hey man, I've been meaning to call you," as opposed to coming up like, "Hey man, that piece of crap you sold me, man, that thing like fell in 3 days later." So what do customers need to know about the garage doors? Like, let's start with, you're in the market to get a new garage door, and you're kind of touching on that a little bit. What are some of the key pieces they need to know? If they come to you and they get a quote on something and they go somewhere else and that quote's significantly lower, what should they be asking, or what follow-up questions should they be asking about that door to differentiate the potential that they may be getting into bed with somebody that may be a little unscrupulous in their business practices for what they're selling?
Well, so you want, probably the first and easiest question is going to be, is your door industry standard? Because again, just because there's industry standard out there, that's not required that that's what you buy or sell.
Right.
People can sell, any Joe Schmo can wake up tomorrow and decide that they're a garage door guy.
Absolutely.
Heck, that's what I did. But now I've got a lot of experience in it.
Right.
And if you don't have that experience, you may not necessarily know what a good door is or a bad door is, especially if you're selling doors and you've got one specific manufacturer you buy from and all you know is them.
Right.
You haven't been around the world at all to see what else is out there. You want to ask, is it industry standard? If it's a regular torsion system door is actually a real good question to ask. You don't want, there's doors out there that are specifically called a Torque Master door, and those, it's not industry standard. But really, the simplest question is this industry standard?
Right.
And if they say, well, it's builder this, or it's, oh, no, it's this, you want an industry standard door. And an industry standard door is going to have at least a couple styles going down the door. If it's a double door, it'll be strutted. Nicer rollers, not just rollers that have plastic on them and with metal stems on them that don't help the door run smooth at all, which is going to take life off of your opener. It'll still open and close several times for years.
Right.
Or instead of getting 15 or 20 years out of that opener like you should have, maybe you only get 5 or 8 because your door was running rough the whole time. And another thing you should do if you already have a door at home is you should be checking the balance of your door twice a year. Every 4 to 6 months, you should be releasing, when your door is in a down position, release your door from the opener, lift it about halfway, and this should be relatively easy, that you lift it halfway up in the opening and you let go of it, and it should stay there. Now, if your door wants to shoot up or if it wants to fall down, especially hard either direction, that's a sign that we need to come out and make some adjustments for you.
And those adjustments are really like in the tensions, but they could also be it could be your wheels or the tracks, I guess. Man, I'm going to talk in standards here.
In this Texas soil, it could be anything because stuff moves here all the time.
Right.
And so you really never know. But again, the key thing, twice a year, going out there, seeing if your door is rubbing on the opening as you're opening and closing it manually, you'll feel it. You'll feel it running rough. It should be real smooth. All these openers out here are made to simply hold the hand of the garage door as it goes down and hold its hand as it comes up. It's not there to force it down or force it up. It's there just to help. And so if the door is running too hard, you're just taking the longevity of your other material out.
That's a good point, because let's say I've got that hooked up to my garage door. I never do that. And I assume, it's kind of squeaky. It's kind of squeaky, or it doesn't sound right or whatever, but that's just what garage doors do, right? In my garage door, and I may tell on myself here, when I get squeaky, the first thing that I reach towards my lubricant for my wheels.
What do you use for lube?
I use it. Oh man,
Don't say WD-40.
I don't. But I do use a silicone-based lube that I put in there. It's probably not far off.
So you can go to Lowe's or Home Depot. We like the stuff. It's called there's Blaster, and it's garage door lube, Pacific garage door lube, and there's also a 3-in-1, and that's made by WD-40, but it's not WD-40, but 3-in-1 garage door lube. And both of those are great lubes to be using on your garage door. You don't want to use garage or WD-40 specifically because it attracts dirt. And so what you're going to actually do is tear up your door by lubing it with WD-40.
Interesting.
So every 4 to 6 months, you want to lube your rollers. If they're bearing rollers, you want to hit the bearings in the rollers. You want to hit the bearings on the side of your torsion system that's on each side. You want to hit your hinges on your garage door, maybe even your springs up there, depending.
Right.
And of course, if this is something that's a little out of your wheelhouse, we offer that. We can come out and do a tune-up. There'll be a service charge, but we'll go over the whole door, make sure everything's running the way it should be. If we see something out of place, we'll point it out to you, give the option to repair or replace at that time.
Yeah, you're making me feel like I've done my door a disservice, which I'm sure I'm in probably the majority of people that try to service their own doors. So.
Right. Well, so biggest moving part in your house, no one ever pulls any type of maintenance on it. It's amazing. It's more of 10 years down the road it breaks and the customer says, I don't know what happened. I was just opening it and it broke and I don't know why.
Yeah, so I put my silicone lube in there, and then it sounds great for a couple of months, and then it goes back to squeaky and that kind of deal. And you're sitting there looking at it, going, "Oh, this is just a natural process of it." Until one day that natural process shows itself another way. Yeah. So I think what's funny is you put a garage door opener on this thing to assist you with the lift of the door, right? And most people have a and I did as well too, the first time I ever handled a door, have a very false perception of how heavy a garage door is.
Right.
Like even, most people's perception is built in the idea, like this thing has the tension springs. It's got the wiring. What is the wiring is that tension based wiring or whatever? Cabling, right? So most people are under the perception when that thing's all wired up and everything else, like, oh, I can pick this door up with one hand and I can roll it up, I can roll it down, I can roll it up, I can roll it down. And then one of those things breaks.
Right.
And you get full heavy force of the door. So let's just give me an idea in general, and the people who are listening to the podcast. Full weight of a door average when it doesn't have the assistance of the cabling and the torsion springs.
A pan industry standard door will probably be in between 300 and 400 pounds, just depending on what manufacturer you're using and what options you put on it. And of course, you can get heavier from there. And you can also get, there's actually doors out there that if the springs break, that's okay, it'll still go up. Not that it should. Yeah. That's just how light that door is. It looks the same as an industry standard door, but you can, if an industry standard door springs break, I will not be able to lift that door. Yeah. If one of these other doors I'm telling you about that aren't industry standard, if their spring breaks, I can still lift that door. Yeah. Well, and so I was telling you, when my mom's came and did its little deal or whatever, it kind of midway stopped, and I got out of the truck, and I'm like, oh, man, I'll push this thing up. At least it'll be open. I couldn't even push it up. Right. And I'm like, wow, this is crazy. So I wanted to chalk that up to the fact that maybe it wasn't balanced correctly on the deal, but it is really the idea that door is just super heavy. And people kind of lose that perception of that. Even if I go in and I do my emergency release on my garage door opener so that I can do what you're saying, lift it halfway up and then see what happens to it when I lift it halfway. And then I go back and lock it all back in or whatever. Again, that perception gets lost in the idea that, oh, there's not that much weight there. All right. But then you talk about things like checking those systems, not just on the door, but also like your garage door opening system, where you guys handle garage door openers as well too, where y'all can assist people with getting those put in for them. The lasers that jump across the door that also should be breaking the system once I break the laser, right? Right. It should pause. Or stop and go back up. Yeah. So another part of that process is also checking that as well too, because man, I remember
when garage door openers first became a thing, like there wasn't any such thing as laser brakes and things like that to stop all that. And you literally had people, like grown adults. I mean, kids obviously were ones that made the news, but man, grown adults getting crushed by these doors. Because not only is it the fact that, you know, you're sitting there thinking, okay, well, it's not that heavy, so it wouldn't do that much damage. I mean, this thing full force of running down, and you've also got an arm that's helping that process to push it all the way down. Lock into place, really what, I mean, because once that thing is in place, it's in place. And
well,
so,
thankfully, nowadays, the openers, especially all the new ones, they're
pressure sensitive.
Right.
Yeah.
They used to have it to where we would manually set how hard and soft it was opening and closing.
Right.
And now it's pressure pointed on top of the sensors. I mean, they've more or less made it foolproof. Now, there are people that, you know, take some side steps to where they don't have those sensors down at the bottom of the door, and I don't recommend doing that. But they've made the systems super safe nowadays to where you shouldn't have an injury like that happen. Yeah,
but keeping the lasers clean, making sure that all that stuff is happening. I mean, this is all, you know, there's a lot of little intricate parts that are in there. So we were talking about, you know, if customers were looking at this process of what should they know about the door and the upkeep on it and everything else, and then what questions they should ask if they're looking at huge price differences between companies. Because really, I mean, you guys, if they call you and then they call another company, they're not going to see like major hundreds and hundreds of dollar swings in most cases. I mean, I would think in most cases they're going to be in the same kind of ballpark. There's probably going to be some differences in price, but knowing those key questions to ask can then identify whether or not you're maybe being sold a door that's less quality than what you're particularly quoting them. Making sure that, like you said, it's an industry standard store. Man, that's hard to say. I'm surprised you said that multiple times.
I've said it a whole bunch.
I caught you a couple times. I'm like, I know he's struggling to get it out. I try to say it once, I can't even get it out. An industry standard door, but also you're also looking at, you know, asking those other questions, and you will give that information out to them readily because you feel confident in what you're quoting out is going to be their best price anyway. So maybe it is that it's insulated. Maybe it is that there's some other things attached to that door that isn't just going to be, like you said, on one side of the door it looks this way, and then you look at the other side of the door, push on it a little bit, and it folds up like a little tin hat or whatever. You know, you kind of know, you know, that you're getting a quality piece of equipment that you're putting in for them.
Right. Well, industry standard gauge on the door is 25, and there's doors out there. If you ask them what the gauge is on the door, they won't tell you. They'll just tell you, no, it's comparable. But that same door they tell you that's comparable, I can take a sharp pencil to and push right through the door. Interesting.
Yeah. And the other thing to think about is, you know, what are your needs for that door as well too. So here, as of recent, I was telling somebody the other day, this is probably the worst weather season that I can think of in Bryan College Station. I mean, we have had a little bit of everything over the last 7 months of stuff. Be 8 months by the time this airs in August. But, I mean, we've had hail, we've had ice, you know, we've had high winds, you know, you've had just about everything. And a part of that also is the idea that the last thing you want to do is to be looking at a door that can't hold up into the weather of what it is that you're seeing. With these weather changes and everything else, you want a door that's going to be able to hold up to whatever those conditions are. I get 60 mile an hour winds into my house. I want to make sure my door's not going to fold on me either. You know, so again, so that industry standard becomes also important to be able to hold up in certain criteria.
Right.
Not everything. We're not telling you, you know, an F3 tornado rolls through that your house isn't standing.
We have storm-rated doors.
Yeah.
So if you want that door, I have that door.
Right. And so I think as people see the weather change a little bit and see that, I think the other part of it is knowing your house. So hey, Chris, can you get me an insulated door that's going to keep my garage cool? Well, you got to know your house, because if above your garage is not insulated, a door is going to help, but it's not going to stop it from coming on the top side.
Right.
And most new builds will insulate everything other than any space that is not considered a livable space, which would be your garage.
Outside wall in the garage,
yeah.
attic area.
Yeah. So, I mean, could you spend more on a garage by getting an insulated garage door and doing all that other stuff? Yeah, you could, but is it for show or is it for go?
Well, it does help. It does help to do an insulated door, even if your walls or your attic's not insulated, because it does have a little bit of it's insulated radiant. Regardless, right. Just because it is what it is.
Yep.
And so, you don't have to get a 19R value door,
right.
which is like a double wall. You
right.
can do a 6R value door, which will help you. It's better than nothing. Just doing a pan door.
Yeah.
If you want the garage to be a little cooler or a little warmer, just depending on the season, an insulated door is going to do that for you. Now,
and which way your door faces.
Right.
So, I mean,
whether you get glass or not, that's important. Insulated glass on people that do want glass when they have the sun setting on them.
Yeah.
My door, I have a gorgeous insulated door, steel back, 13.35R value. I made one small mistake on my door. I got gorgeous glass in it, and I have this Pacific door. It's called a Classica. It's made niche by Amar. They're the only ones that make a door that looks anything like it, and it's a gorgeous carriage house door. And it's set as such that the sections on your standard door you would have 4 or 5 sections. The Classica is 3. It's 3 sections, so it's a huge door, huge panels. The glass in it's huge. And the sun just beats down into there. I have non-insulated glass and 13.35 insulated. Well, I have very pretty glass.
Yes.
My wife thought it was pretty, and it does. It looks great. But it's not insulated. You can't get that glass insulated. I did have it tinted, which helped. But with that sun coming in, it more or less comes into the garage and then gets stuck in there.
Right.
So it's just, you can get a little hot in there.
Goes in one way, doesn't go out the other.
So knowing what you want and what the reality is important, and I like to talk to customers about what they want and what their expectations should be on, depending on what their house is like. Yeah,
if your garage door faces west and it gets the afternoon sun, that just gets blasted, then it might benefit you as well too to look at some different options there as well. If you are in a home where your garage is your pride and joy, because I've seen that you've done some homes with glass front doors on them. They look awesome. You've got a picture of one. I think is there a pool table or something in there?
Right,
or something?
That's one of my longtime builder. Actually, the longest builder that's ever worked with us, Flagship Custom Homes, Andy Brooks. That's his house, and that was a lot of fun. Well, I say it was a lot of fun. I got to sell it and set it all up. I didn't have to do the install. I don't think my guys had too much fun installing that. But man, those doors are awesome.
Well, the look is phenomenal on it, and it really is. When you talk about showroom glass door, I mean that's really the purpose of it. Is it highlights what's behind, right? So this isn't necessarily like you're not in there and you look in through the door and you see a bunch of tools and tire marks on the ground or whatever. You see. Like this is his kind of almost like a little man cave looking deal where he can roll this door up, get great airflow in there,
right.
But also at the same point, he closes this door down, flip all the lights on, and you can just have a bunch of jealous neighbors driving by looking at, man, why didn't I do that?
Well, so that was set. That is a little man cave. That one is set in the back of his house. So on his garage, he has some gorgeous Classica garage doors on. They're big ones. They're really pretty. But that's set in the back. Towards his house, next to his pool outside, and so it's his pool room. It's his pool table,
literally
pool room,
literally pool room.
Right.
So, talking about what customers need to know about the doors, customers, and we're kind of leading into that here. When we're talking about door design, your customers have the ability to get custom design doors that will work for whatever need they're needing. Like if they've got a certain look, or they've got, like we're talking about here, where it's an all glass front because it's going to be like a showroom. Maybe they have a classic car, and this is their classic car garage that they really kind of want to show that kind of stuff off or whatever. They have the ability to call you and also walk through the process of doing their own build. Now, we were talking earlier that, doing a custom build door is going to be a little bit on the lengthy side to be able to get.
Right, but, right now.
Yeah, but they can have this thing basically modeled out however they see in their mind based on bringing you out and into the equation where you can talk through some of the design work that you've already done in the past to give them even ideas maybe that they haven't thought about. Like, it's probably pretty interesting that I would imagine a lot of doors when you talk custom, do you get people who come to you and go, man, I saw this door either on this website, Pinterest, whatever, a car show, whatever it is that kind of spurs their interest into it? Do you find that like the ones that bring you custom door designs have usually been inspired by something else?
They saw the door somewhere,
right?
Whether it be on a TV show or online somewhere. I had a customer the other day show me a door that they took a picture of in another neighborhood that they fell in love with, and it happened to be a door that we did. And so that's always the best.
Yeah.
So I know exactly what that is. I can get that taken care of for you. And I have door options for every occasion. I've got our basic doors, and I've got things 100% custom. We can do whatever you want. It's all about about what you want. And then the other thing that comes into the equation nowadays is time. What's your priority? What's your time limit? If you're wanting to do this in 4 months, that's really going to limit what type of doors I can get in for you.
Right. And you've got go-to companies that you can hit up for these custom doors as well too. Custom also being down to even custom color.
We can do custom color through AMAR. You can do Sherwin-Williams color zone, so you can pick any color from Sherwin-Williams, and we can have the door painted that way. On the wood door side, I really love our wood doors. We haven't talked about them at all.
Right.
But I use a different manufacturer for them, Carriage House Door out of Houston, and their doors are. If you want something out of this world that no one else is going to have, and that you'll go ooh and ah for years to come when you're pulling in the driveway, those are the guys, and they really make some amazing doors that you can stain, paint, whatnot.
So help me out on wood doors. Are these sectional wood doors, or are these like full? Do you also have like do you have the full frame like flip up doors?
So we don't do those necessarily.
Okay.
These are still sectional doors. Depending on how you want the door to be done, you can do wooden overlays. You can do metal overlays to where they do a metal door with a wood front. Mm-hmm. Those tend not to be my favorite, especially here in Texas.
Right.
Lots of those wood facades are glued onto the door, and Texas heat just
helps those out, right?
Right. 5 years from now, it just doesn't look as good.
Yeah.
So I like doing full wood doors with a wood frame because nothing's sliding down. It's all nut or nailed or nut and bolt together, and they look phenomenal. Wood doors are a different beast. They run so heavy, so you have to have some higher end garage door openers to put on there. Mm-hmm. But again, there's nothing else like them. They're so. I mean, I know I'm a garage door guy. I'm a little biased, but when I pull up to these huge 18x8 full wood on wood garage doors, that makes my day for me.
Yeah, the uniqueness of it, of not seeing it every day and having a greater appreciation for it when you do see it. I think and you'll typically see those usually selected in like higher end builds or something like that. But I think the other part in talking about custom design for customers that they can work that through you as well too is, let's talk about the customer that is, maybe they're selling their home and they're freshening up everything with paint, and the outside needs to be tidied up or whatever. The one thing I was commenting to you about was you guys put that door on my mom's condo at that point, but the difference for me, even though I knew I got a great deal on the door, the difference was you guys even went out and y'all put some hardware that was on the door, like more kind of facade hardware that then made the door, not only the fact that it was new, but then made it stand out amongst all the rest of them because they didn't have those little custom handles and the hinge looks on the outside of it where you guys had gone in and installed that as well as a part of that installation. Customers looking to kind of give their place a fresh look. They put paint and painted the house or whatever. What can they do to that door? What kind of upgradable things can they put on there hardware wise that will give their door just a more upper scale look? Well,
I'm a big proponent of if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Mm-hmm. Maybe that's not always the best sales approach, but it seems to be the best customer approach. If you're wanting to do simple upgrades on your door, these aren't necessarily my favorite, but they work. Okay. In fact, one of my neighbors did it after I tried to sell him a good door, one of those discount doors at a good price. Hey, you can get Faux Windows and put them on your garage door.
Interesting.
They're magnetic, but if you're driving by, they look pretty good. And you can also get magnetic decorative hardware from Lowe's or Home Depot.
I've seen these.
Right, and it's not expensive.
Yeah.
It's a nice option with that stuff because you can put it on your door.
Yeah.
And if you don't
and
like it.
you're not committed to
right,
it.
if you don't like it, you can just take it off.
I didn't put some holes in my door here to install a piece of hardware on there.
And those faux windows are magnetic, and those you can get at Lowe's or Home Depot too. So as far as cost-effective, simple upgrades that you can change your mind on, those are it right there.
Yeah. And so for you guys, obviously, y'all are going to talk about that. If they're looking to replace the door, you're going to talk about those options as well too. Like, hey, not only can we just put this on here, if you just want a plain door, we can leave it plain, but there's some other options in here that we can add to that door that'll give that look. I don't even know that you and I had that discussion. It was just part of the price. You guys just put it on there, and I was like, after
back
we got
then
done,
it was
like,
just part of the price.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Chris. Thanks.
All right. Well, no, back then it was. When we sold those doors, that was in 15 years. That was probably the best deal we ever gave a customer, and we had 3 dozen doors to run through that.
Yeah.
So it was, you got a good deal on that.
That's good.
So did every other customer on that.
Yeah, they looked phenomenal, and definitely, I'm sitting there looking at it like, okay, Chris is telling me this is the door that he's got there, and he shot me, I think he shot me like a picture of it on email or whatever that I could look at it and I go, it looks fine. But then I saw it and I'm like, because I'm thinking to myself, I knew what I paid for it, and I'm like, okay, we'll see what I get, because when we were sitting there talking, you were talking earlier about the door that you could push a pencil through or whatever. I'm like, it could be one of them doors too, but quite honestly, man, we're going to sell this place. I'm not too committed into whatever it is. It's going to be what it's going to be. And then I go over there and I'm like, holy crap, like this is a nice door. Get done looking at it, and then I'm like, oh, look, yeah, it had hardware on there. They had what are the little hinged deals?
So you got the straps on the side.
Yeah, the straps. That's what I'm
and
looking
then you got the decorative handles.
Yeah, and I'm like looking around. Then I look at everybody else's door. I'm like, I bet people are jealous now looking at this door. And then you were telling me as well too, like, hey, if there's anybody else in there that wants doors, let me know. I'll hook them up too, and I'll give them a good deal on it as well. And so I think I talked to the HOA president and just said, hey, here's the door. It's on there. I don't think it generated anything else from you, because most of those guys in there,
right?
I don't want to classify anybody. Let's just say they were more mature people that were living in that community that were probably on. Well, again, if
it ain't broke, don't fix it.
That's true. Although, man, it did look good. I'm just saying.
Yours was actually broken. I remember that.
And I was going to say, for the price of it, man, it's almost worth the fact. Even if it wasn't broken, the upgrade on there really wasn't that much to be able to upgrade that door.
We could talk about that price all day and how good of a price on that one. That was a good one.
That's good. Yeah. We definitely took advantage of it. So let's talk a little bit about maybe services that you guys offer that aren't just front and center. I mean, people know that you're going to go in and be able to replace a garage door and give them a new door if they're looking for that. Service plans, do y'all offer anything where y'all come out and check doors regularly or anything like that?
So we don't have a particular service plan that we advertise to customers, but we do have customers that do want us to come out every 4 to 6 months, something like that, 3 times a year. And on that, we just charge them a half service charge, and we come out and tune everything, and any parts they need are half the price too, but we come out 3 times a year.
Okay.
And so you're looking at, instead of $120 service charge, you're looking at $60 and then cheap parts if needed.
Yeah, and I think in your business line, probably the majority of who you're talking to are people who are desperate to make sure they get that door fixed, because maybe now their place is unsecure, their garage is unsecure. You guys definitely, I know y'all can come out, y'all can secure a door up while you're in the process of working through getting stuff done. You can go out there and help them get a door lowered or get it raised, whatever it is that they're choosing to do with it, and then y'all can work through the process of fixing the stuff. I think that when you're looking to call on customers, somebody's reached out to you, hey man, Chris, can you meet me here? I think the value of your time is one of those things that a lot of people misplace in this industry. Like, you're spending your gas, you're spending your time, you're spending all of that in hopes, obviously, that it's going to generate business on the backside for you on a conversation, whether that's a referral, whether that's a phone contact or whatever. But this is also an industry as well, too, that you kind of get hung out from time to time where somebody's made a phone call. Hey, I'll meet you there at this time, or I'm thinking about replacing my door. Maybe the door's not, it's not to the point of complete disaster and falling apart, but they know that it's probably about that time that they got to look into it. And I'm sure it's frustrating as a small business owner to know, like, I don't have 50 guys that I can just roll guys around to. When I take this time to go quote out a door, or to go look at something for somebody that they've asked me to take a look at, that time is ticking away to something else that I can be using to generate business as well too. And so, what would you say is your hangout rate? Meaning, like, somebody's contacted you and not shown.
I am free 50 free. We don't charge for an estimate. I come out, I take a look at everything. Even, stuff happens in life. I had a customer this morning. I haven't heard back from him yet. I was supposed to, I talked to him yesterday, scheduled an appointment this morning for in between 8 and 9, and that's generally my estimates run every hour. I go out and see 10 people a day, 8 people a day, whatnot. And they weren't there. And generally, on the first dry run, I don't charge you anything for that. If mistakes happen, you forget stuff. People make mistakes, and I don't want to hold that against you. Now, the second time, that's different. You'll get a service charge on that.
Right.
Dry runs, initial dry runs are free, and then, of course, for me to come out, that's what makes us unique from anyone else in town, is we do free estimates. And I'm the guy that comes out and sees you, so I'm not a tech. I'm not the guy. I know how to do doors. I installed doors before this happened.
Sure.
So I know what I'm talking about. I have that experience, but I'm not in that role anymore. My role is specifically sales and dealing with customers, taking phone calls, and product ordering. Yeah. And so we get to go see customers, and then I get to tell you, or you get to tell me what you want, and I get to tell you what you want.
Right. What you need, based on what I've seen here. I think the other part of that is you can't do a drive-by estimate without seeing the inside. You got to see the inside of a door.
I can give you a rough idea. But then that's all it is a rough idea.
Yeah,
I don't want there to be surprises for you. I'd rather be able to just tell you.
Right.
Exactly what's
hey, Chris, can you roll by and tell me what that kind of door is going to cost? Well, it's going to cost you this, but I don't know what your track system looks like inside. I don't know what kind of garage door opener you've got inside. I could sell you a brand new door from look, and you could have the world's worst garage door opener to lift this thing, and the reality is we should probably be talking on multiple levels of replacement here. Like, maybe it's your garage door opener. How old is that garage door that doesn't have a remote to it anymore, or, so
Right, and we do talk about that. I mainly want to see inside to see what type of headroom we have for your new garage door, because the way doors were made 20, 30 years ago isn't necessarily made the same way today.
Right.
Standards have changed. The type of headroom you need for a garage door has changed, depending on what type of door you're buying will depend. I mean, so there's lots of scenarios. And if you have a lot of headroom, like we were talking about earlier, where we have those doors that are half an inch away from the ceiling.
They look like they're almost flush,
right?
To
and that
the
was
to
something
the ceiling.
the customer wanted, is they wanted those doors to be completely out of the way, and we did it. I mean, it's in the picture, it looks like it's touching the ceiling. Yeah, they're not, but it's close, and that's what the customer wanted, and we can do that. But I need to see everything. I need to take measurements and get you as close as we can to perfect.
Yeah, and that can make a huge difference in somebody's garage area as well, too. You may utilize the space above that garage door to put up racks for storage or something like that. But if that's not an area that you're using that for, that's really dead space for a lot of customers as well, too. So, and that's a significant amount of overhead room dead space. I mean,
it is.
I could walk into a garage. I've got a header board that I'm walking past. But once I get in past that header board, I may have 9-foot, 10-foot ceilings in my garage, that I can't take full advantage of because my garage door is coming down. What's average? A foot and a half, 2 foot?
12 inches is the standard headroom. Then you have a 3 more inches for your operator. So standard headroom for a door and opener is 15 inches.
Gotcha. Okay.
Again, people can have more, and you don't necessarily need it, but we can also come into a pre-existing garage door and say you have 3 feet above your door that you do want to have. We can change that old door into a high lift system door and get that door out of your way. So you don't have to just buy a new door. We can It'll cost a couple bucks, of course, but
Sure.
you can still make that old door, especially if it's in great condition, into a high lift door and get it out of your way.
Right. And then use the rest for storage or whatever you need to do.
Right.
If it goes over the top of it or underneath it or whatever, you've got the ability to kind of raise and lower the door based on maybe what that customer's needs are. And I think, again, that's one of those deals like you don't really think about it until somebody brings it up. And it also makes me wonder, like, how many people's ideas are generated off of like home remodel shows and things like that, where they see something, they're like, oh, that's kind of cool. Like, I never thought about doing that. Or they got a neighbor that all of a sudden decided to do it, and they're like, oh, man, that's a great idea. You know,
Right.
I can't tell you how many things that I've done around my house based on a neighbor's decision to do something in their house. And then I find out about it, and I'm like, how did I not, know that this was a thing? How did I not know that this thing existed or whatever? And so there's a lot of little intricate parts of that other than just replacing a door that you guys can assist people with. I mean, not necessarily at just raking them over the coals price-wise. I mean, if I wanted to move that door further up or whatever, you're talking about a track system change in most cases.
Well,
right?
so it's a lot more in depth than you would think.
Okay.
You're going to be changing your track, your cables, your drums, your
Okay,
springs.
yeah, that would make
I mean,
sense.
there's a lot that goes into it. All these garage doors are engineered to run a very specific way.
Okay.
And so, especially if you're going to change one, the cables, the drums, torsion system, the end bearing plates, and probably the center bearing plate if you're going to do all that. So, you want to do it right. And that's what we want to do.
Sure.
So you could get away with just replacing the bare minimal parts, but that's just going to leave you a headache in the future.
Right.
So if we're going to do it, we're going to do it right. We'll explain everything we're doing, why we want to do it this way, what the benefit of doing it this way is. I'm all about longevity.
Right.
I want you as my return customer. I don't want to talk to you anytime soon. I want you to be happy and satisfied with what you have and not have issues with it.
Sure.
And if you don't want to have issues with it, you do it right. You do it with good quality parts, and then there you go.
Yeah. And, you're the neighbor that's next to me that's showing me all the stuff that Chris did in your house that, we could do in your house when you're ready for it or whatever.
That's right.
So successes and challenges. Running a business, you've been doing it now for 15 years. We were kind of talking about, I was talking about our business and you were talking about yours, and we were talking about, when you start up a business, you kind of assume that there's going to be struggles, there's going to be challenges, there's going to be things that are going to happen, learning lessons. Definitely the way you run your business today is not the way you ran it when you started it up. And I'm sure every year probably lends into a little bit more knowledge and a little bit better way to skin the cat to run that business. What have been some of your biggest successes that you've identified as a small business owner and challenges that you have seen, let's just say within the last couple of years? I know that one of the challenges we talked about earlier is being able to source those things. Obviously at one point you were accustomed to being able to source your materials quicker.
Right.
So the challenge of having to kind of deal with that time frame being really out of your control, kind of at the mercy of those manufacturers. But what have been some of the other challenges as well as those successes that you've seen over the years?
You asked this earlier, and maybe I should have thought on it a little more. But as far as challenges, it's getting material in that doesn't have damage on it. I mean, and those are our challenges that, like you said, we don't have any control over.
Sure.
That would just, it comes, and when it comes, we just got to deal with it from there.
Yeah,
and
you almost have to accept it as a part of the business model at this point.
Right. Well, and the good thing that we've done as a company is we're quick to jump on what needs to be attended to. So when we see that there's a problem with this job for this customer, it becomes my priority. My list constantly changes on what my priority is for the day and what I'm doing. But for customers that are waiting on us, they're my priority. I want to go ahead and take care of our customers that I have scheduled appointments with. But we've worked out our scheduling to where I have time to deal with those things. When a door comes in on Monday, I have time set aside to where we can all look at those doors and see if we see any issues with them. That way we can, if there is an issue, we can jump on it right away and it won't be an issue for our customer for too long. Successes, I think we've got a lot of those. I think our company has done really well as far as being efficient with our time and learning how to be more efficient with our time over the years. Taking care of our customers is probably I don't want to brag too hard, but that we're the best at it.
Yeah.
And we do take a lot of pride in that and taking care of our customers and making sure they get exactly what they want. To the point where if you're not happy, I'm not happy, and we're going to figure it out until you are. Thankfully, I've never had too many of those. In fact, I've only had one that I can really think of. But our success is our customers. It speaks for itself. As you can look at it and see it.
Yeah, I was going to say that you can probably count your successes just by seeing the reviews, seeing the recommendations, going to like a Nextdoor avenue. I mean, you can go into Nextdoor,
my favorite.
Just type in garage door,
and we're flooded.
Yeah,
that makes I think I even wrote on one of the posts that just does my heart good.
Yeah,
to get on there and I'm about to write something, but before I write something, I just see post after post after post recommending us.
Yeah. Or somebody goes in there and tags you on a post or whatever to bring you into a conversation that somebody's trying to have, or they're trying to reach for a recommendation. It's pretty common in business that if you do it well, the referral rates will accelerate your business just naturally, because you've been taking care of people for so long in such a way that people are quick to reply. Like, I can make a choice as a customer to sit there and say, okay, somebody's asked for a recommendation on here. Somebody's going to say Chris's place, so I'm just going to leave it as is. Or I can jump in there and be like, listen, I feel strongly enough about this to take my time to give the recommendation to say, you guys need to call Aggieland over there because they're going to take care of you. They've done excellent work for me. And again, it's just that vocal referral. And it's pretty hard when you're asking for a reference to a business or to a recommendation of somebody to take care of you, that you see this boom, boom, boom. Like there's probably in that equation 5 or 6 different businesses that may be regulars that pop up in the app or pop up on a page or whatever, and whether it's a social media page or whatever. But when you see this name constantly repeated down there, you're like, man, that's like 15 different referrals to Aggieland. I need to check this place out. And you understand that. I'm sure when people call you, you probably want to know how they got you. You ever ask that?
I'm not very good at that.
Really? Man,
I don't ask for referrals either.
Oh, I would just want to know how they found me in some cases.
I do ask sometimes. I think I told you at the beginning about this. Amazingly, my memory is not the best. Although I do write everything down as far as when I'm talking to the customer, name, address, what they want, and all that.
Right.
But as far as getting business, we've let that. We advertise on Google very little, and that's it.
Yeah,
that's it. Now I'm the one that wears a lot of hats, so I'm on the social media and I reply to Next Door Neighbor app.
Right.
But I get on the Next Door Neighbor app once, maybe twice a day. I get on TexAgs once or twice a day. I get on Facebook. I get on all these places where we can be found once or twice a day, just to see what's going on, make sure I'm not missing anything. Taking care of our customers.
Yeah. Man, I'd be like, where'd you hear about us from? Because in my world, I'm looking at it, there are so many places that you can advertise at, right? And as a small business owner, where you spend your money is really important. Like, you don't want to just throw money at whatever. And I mean, I'm sure you can probably relate to this as well too, is, your phone will ring week in, week out of somebody that can do something for your business. We'd love to do this. We'd love to teach you, we can take this and raise your SEO rating so that you show up at the top of something. Or we noticed that, your website wasn't perfectly, organized, and we can organize that for you. I mean, there's always somebody trying to make a buck off of a business somewhere about what they can do for you. And I love the fact that, I've had some people come and sit on the podcast that talk about, like, don't spend your money here. Like, if you're going to spend your money somewhere, spend it here.
Right.
Talk about the difference between a Facebook ad and a Facebook boost, right? And what the payback is between those and what to do. And, I had, I think I had Dallas on here at one point that said, your single most valuable tool is really, in most cases, if you are advertising, is email. And at first I kind of looked at that and I was like, man, but social media is kind of where it's at. And he goes, the problem with social media is you may have 10,000 followers and you put something out there, but because of the algorithms to it, only 1,000 may see it. But if you send out an email to 10,000 people that are on your mailing list, 10,000 people are going to get that email. And I'd never thought of it that way. I just thought of it in terms of like, well, but those are customers. You know, if I have their email address, they're customers that are already with us, right? But it could be that customer that, you know, did business with us 10 years ago, 15 years ago, and I got their email address on something. And now all of a sudden they've kind of been sitting there. It's not a high priority on their list to get the stuff fixed or done or get new stuff or whatever. But it might just be that one email blast out all of a sudden that goes, oh, you know what, man, they're running that special over there. I probably need to go ahead and call them. And it really resonated with me because we don't do it as a business. I have a lot of emails. I think when I got through talking to Dallas, I went back and reconciled all the emails that we had ever taken in as a business. And my gosh, it was something like 9,000 emails or something like that we had in the system and this is a system that hadn't been here for 30 years. And we've been using this system for maybe about 6. So in 6 years, I had something like 9,000 emails. And then I realized, well, man, some of these emails aren't going to be good anymore. Right? Like I don't want to blast out emails that, you know, then I'm going to get 2,000 of them as a bounce back to me. Like, sorry, these didn't, you know, this isn't a customer, create my own headache. But then I realized there are websites out there where you can I literally took all these emails and put them in a spreadsheet, ran it through this site. This site literally pinged all of these things for me. I think it cost me $25. Pinged all of this for me, and it took my 9,000 down to like 4,500. Literally, like chopped off half of them. It says these are all active, these are no good. And I was like, wow, that cost me $25.
That's worth every penny.
Yeah, because I'd have spent days deleting all of the bounce back emails of 4,500 emails that would have come back into my system, right?
Oh yeah.
And then I'm sitting there looking at it, going, okay, well, you know, this is of value because I can put it, again, I can say, hey, you know, come in and we're waiving whatever, set up art fees, whatever this month, and send that out on my social media pages. And again, there's 5,000 people that are on Facebook that are following us. But if the algorithm's correct, then 500 people may see it.
Right.
Well, I got to keep my fingers crossed that maybe it's 500 people who want to do business or are looking to do business or maybe forgot that they need to do the business with us, which I know that's not going to be the case. But again, if I look back on it and I have this wealth of email information already in front of me of everybody that I've collected here, and I can shoot back out to them, not only does that become something, not necessarily that I may get a repeat customer in there, but they may know somebody that's looking to do that. And they go, hey, you know what, man, I just got an email from this company that they're doing this. You should consider going over there. Or maybe they share an email across the way to somebody like, hey, let me shoot you this email I got an advertisement from M&M that they're waiving this, doing this, whatever, free whatever. And they shoot it across, and it still has the same impact, if not better, than me trying to do it all across social media. Now, I'm not knocking social media. It's there for a purpose, and it definitely has benefited us on multiple sides of the coin. I tell people one of my most effective social media posts was one of my most ridiculous ones. And it had zero, and I mean absolutely zero, to do with the business. I literally put up a picture of a shoe that, to me, this was a pink shoe. But apparently the deal of it is like, is this pink or is it blue or something like that? It's kind of like the dress, right? And I put this thing up on there just really as like an interaction joke. It really wasn't meant to do anything. And it became my number one post that I'd ever put up, and years of posting things on social media. And I'm like, really?
Does that make you a little sad?
It does.
I've got one like that too.
It does, man. It's like putting up a meme or something, that like I put up all these, beautiful pictures of things that we've done for clients and customers and everything else. And you're like, oh, this is going to be it. But no, it's the shoe that people can't agree that is the right color.
So you went on my Facebook page. Did you see mine? There's only one like it. And it got a lot of likes on it. And it's this picture of a man and a woman, and they're hugging. And at the top it says, relationship problems? We can't fix those, but we can fix your garage door.
Yeah.
I can't remember exactly what it said, but we can't fix your relationship, but we can fix your garage door. And that one got a lot of traction.
That's so funny. It's funny to think like, how culturally different people's thought processes are. I'm sitting there thinking to myself, like, we're going to come up with the next big thing. I had another one. So my second biggest interaction, which is probably even worse, is, I'm almost embarrassed to say it, but it was a TikTok, right? So
TikTok.
It's good it's good for passing the time, right? And with the short attention spans that's definitely being created, it definitely fills a niche, right? So we create this TikTok where we had done a throwback to a Fresh Prince of Bel-Air shirt. We play the song in the background. I got one of my college kids that takes it. I pitch him the shirt. He holds it up, looks at it, kind of shakes he probably wasn't even born by the time this, by Fresh Prince was out or whatever. Takes it, kind of shrugs his shoulders, throws it up in the air, and we slice it and cut it all up. The next thing you know, he jumps on the ground. It looks like he's got it on. And he does this little dance. Literally, like the first 12 hours of this thing being posted. This thing has like some ridiculous number, 800 views or something like that. I'm like, really?
Right.
Like again, I did you see the 112 patch hat that I put up? Like, this is the thing.
This is our pride.
It. Yeah,
this is for fun, and
it is. It amazes me. And you look at some of these things as a business owner. I kind of look at it like, is my customer on TikTok? Well, what's funny is again, I'm almost ashamed to admit this as well too. Just like you were just saying, like, I will find myself like going down the rabbit hole of TikTok, and all of a sudden I look at my watch and I'm sitting at home and the TV's on, but I couldn't tell you what was on there because I've been too busy watching all these, flipping through these TikTok videos that are coming through. I would also be ashamed to admit that there have been a few things that I've purchased based on things that I've seen on TikTok.
I've done a couple of TikTok hacks. I haven't purchased anything yet, but I saw a hack too. I have to say this one because this is a great one for parents. The baby wipes container. I've got one hand.
Yeah.
So every time I go to pull one out, I have not the hard baby wipes, but like the travel
package one.
You pull one out, you pull out 3 or 4, right?
Okay.
Get a woman's hair tie and put it on one side of that, and you'll get one baby wipe out every time. Changed my life. It changed my life.
Yeah. I mean, there has been some crazy stuff on there. And I look at some of the stuff, I go, there's no way this happens. I'm sure that's probably that thought. You're like, there's no way. And then you do it. And you see these reactions. Then you get to see these reaction TikToks where people are like, there's no way this. And then they do it. They're like, oh my God, and they freak out over it or whatever. But what is crazy to me is the idea of how much traction on social media things can gather on there, even in things that you don't think are that big a deal. And TikTok is one of those deals of, it's obviously, I don't want to say up and coming because I think it's really already here.
Right.
I really thought in the beginning, this has to be young kids that are like watching this and paying attention to it. But then like you start watching it and you're like, I'm 50 years old and I'm over here watching a bunch of TikToks. I embarrassed my 10-year-old daughter where I go, hey, come over here and look at this TikTok with me. And she's like, what? But that's now kind of become our thing, is like we'll flip through and watch TikToks while, we're waiting for dinner or getting ready to go to bed or whatever. But I look at advertisement in multiple ways that I never used to look at it. Used to think like advertisement, I'll pay for a Facebook post, it'll go out. But as I've continued to talk to people about how to grow the business, how to get the business out in front of people, referrals are always going to be great because they really are true customers that are telling their story to their friends, their neighbors, their coworkers, or whatever as a referral, right? As a true reference. But then the old ways of doing things, whether that's TV advertisement, because people don't watch TV the way they used to. I mean, it used to be like you'd take a commercial out and it would run through. And I think at one point, I think we did a commercial one time, and it was a commercial during an event. I don't know if it was the Super Bowl. I'm not real sure. But I can remember somebody telling me like, hey, I saw your advertisement. Actually, it probably wasn't Super Bowl. It was probably just running through some stuff. I saw your advertisement. And I thought, that's great. Like we paid to put it up on there. Somebody saw it. Where did you see it at? Oh, I saw it at the gym when I was working out. And I'm like, okay, well, that's cool. which gym were you at? And they tell me where they were at, and they go, yeah, it was on at like 5 o'clock in the morning when I was working out of the gym. And I'm like, okay,
yeah,
that's why this guy's 70 years old and telling me he saw my advertisement on there. And so being, methodical about advertising your business really is critical outside of that referral, right? Like we talk about in here, we're doing a podcast, which is kind of an upcoming way that people get to learn about businesses, learn about people. It's one of my favorite ways to pass the time when I'm in the car, where I used to listen to all radio way back in the day when radio was a thing, right? Then I became the older guy that listened to talk radio, and that was even worse. So then it became talk radio, and then it became streaming radio. All of these things kind of just naturally flowed in, right? So as things change, as the landscape changes for how you reach people in your environment, again, what you've always done has always worked. Do you see that in the future that, and we're kind of talking about, going into your outlook for 21, about 3 years down the road, do you feel you'll ever have to advertise your business in a way to grow it, or do you feel like those referrals will always be your growth?
So, we were talking about the struggles and the success and and we talked a little bit before we started here, but the first 8-10 years of this business was a struggle.
Yeah.
There were days where I would call my mom and say, hey, will you call my business line, make sure it's working? Because it's noon and I haven't received one phone call yet today.
Wow.
And I don't understand what's going on. And of course, as time progresses, you start to learn trends in customers about when they're going to call and when they're going to not.
Right.
When they're not going to call about a month and a half before Christmas. That's when people start shopping for Christmas and they put off other things.
Yeah, January, where they're paying all the bills that they charge for Christmas.
And so, but the first 8 years, it got me every time. And now we're to a point where thankfully even our slow time is not any longer slow. But we've advertised, we've done commercials. You can go on YouTube and find our commercial underneath Aggieland Garage Door. It's the whole great service and a great product won't cost you an arm and a leg pitch. Oh yeah, no, it's a great one. We ran that commercial for 6 months, and I still have customers come to me and say, "Hey, I remember that, and that was great." So it was definitely good. But at the end of the day, we do a lot of referral. Our customers, we've become cemented in this community.
Yeah.
We've made a reputation for ourselves of being the best and taking care of our customers. Well, I think we're the best, but taking care of our customers and treating them right. So I'm not against doing any type of advertising, but I know, it's proven that our customers do a lot of the advertising for us.
Yeah.
So, and when I say I advertise with Google only, I don't advertise with them only. We advertise with inside the community. Maybe not all the community sees it. Maybe only a couple thousand because it's at a charity event. But I'm not necessarily doing those types of advertising to advertise. I'm doing it to be part of the community.
Yeah, absolutely. Pay back, be a good steward of the community as well too, and giving back. Your outlook, you're midway through 21 here, coming around on the backside. I say things have normalized. Although, did you find like during COVID that was your business impacted in that people were nervous getting you guys out to their house, or did you find that just never even materialized?
So we did have a couple customers, when COVID started and everybody was wearing a mask. That included us. We wanted to respect our customers, and so we went into their house or through their house with masks on. But generally, we would be out in the garage and they would be inside in the AC.
Yeah.
And so we didn't have too many issues with that. We did have a couple of customers that, of course, want to see everything that's going on, and they would stay out in the garage with us, and so the guys would keep their mask on. But that was few and far between. We didn't have a lot of issues with that.
Yeah, and so with half of 21 in, what is 21 looking like for you guys compared to previous years? I mean, are you seeing the uptrend continuing? I mean, you're telling me earlier that
Right.
You're 90 doors waiting, to come in so that you can do those installs. So tell me where that looks comparatively to where you've been in the past.
I've never had 90 doors waiting before in the past, but again, everything came in so much quicker. In the future, I see nothing but, success and growing the business still. I guess we tend to grow a little differently than other customer or other businesses. I'm not trying to, we never have tried to be the customer or the business that grew the fastest.
Right.
We just want to grow the best.
Right.
We want to.
Solid.
Right. We want to be a quality company that is able to control, our qualities is simply what's going out and what's coming in. And I think we do that pretty well, which is why we have the reputation we have. And I think as far as our plans for the future, that's the plan, and when and if we need to adjust from there, we will.
Yeah, you're adding a couple of family members to the business, hopefully here in the future as well too, to help, which will then allow you, again, quicker turnaround, being able to do multiple jobs. I mean, there's something to be said about controlling that quality because of the number of people that you have, with it being you and your brothers. But also at the same point, you can only hang so many doors with a couple of guys doing the install. Yeah. So
we're about 2 weeks out on scheduling right now. So yeah,
it's not bad.
No, it's not bad. It could be worse.
Yeah, I mean, compared to where you're at, and knowing that there's still 90 coming, that you got to keep going. Plus everything you keep adding on. So it's good to hear that you guys are continuing the process of growth. I mean, that's really, for us, and bringing the podcast out and trying to get businesses in front of people so that they can learn about the business owners, learn about the business in general. There's always options. I mean, that's always going to be the case. Is people, when they are picking something they want to do, restaurant, clothing stores, whatever, they're going to have options where they can go. But where people like to tie their money to is they like to tie money to places that, number one, they get quality in whatever it is they put down. Quality food, quality clothing, quality vehicle, quality doors, whatever that is. They know that they're getting the value for their money in that quality as well too. But they also want to know that their money is mattering. We talk in here a lot about you have the ability to spend your money in multiple locations in multiple ways. Most people are accustomed to spending money in places where they can do like one-stop shop. And a lot of the times in one-stop shop places, unfortunately, that means that they're spending that money in the corporate world. And that money doesn't necessarily, while there's still sales taxes being paid back into the city and all of that good stuff, here locally where we have small businesses, where those small business leaders live in this community, their kids go to school here, they are also partners in the community as far as giving back, like you were saying earlier. Like there's a silent auction that we give into so that, this goes towards whatever. It may be towards a scholarship. It may be towards a fundraiser to help somebody who's sick or whatever. The small business owners within the community are the ones who have the most to gain and, quite honestly, the most to lose. You're not being backed by a corporate entity up here that's just pouring money up into you. You've got to go out, kill it, drag it home, and in the process of all of that, be very conscious about the way that your business is represented every single day that you're out there. And so that starts at the forefront of that with people trusting that they're getting a great quality product from a reputable operation, and the people who live here, who call this their home, who take the pride in the community and the organizations that they join and become a part of, need that money in order to be able to continue to give back into the community. And so we were saying earlier that big businesses are really built on the backs of small businesses. Small businesses are leaps of faith for people locally who feel like, I can create something that people need and do it better than anybody else. I don't know that there's ever been a small business that opens up going, hopefully I'm okay at this. Everybody goes in with a dream.
Right.
Everybody goes in with listen, I can do this. I can do this better than anybody else. Hearing you say multiple times in here, you're like, I think we're the best at customer service. I mean, quite honestly, if I get you to the side, you're like, there ain't nobody going to beat our customer service. I mean, you don't want to brag about it. You don't want to sound boastful and everything else. But the reality of that is if you can control it with 3 guys that are all invested in the company, it's going to be pretty difficult to say that customer service isn't going to be at the top of that list and isn't going to be like exuding from that company when everybody's got an investment in the success of the company. As you grow the company and there's more and more people in there that aren't maybe not necessarily financially invested in that company, now all of a sudden it's, how do I get people that I bring into my operation to care as much as I care, to want it to be as big as we can possibly get it while still maintaining that small feel and that quality customer service that we can back everything up with. And also knowing that you don't have any intentions of going anywhere else. No. And this is your home, right? So you're selling in the backyard that you're intending and staying as well too. So when you talk about things, this is always one of my concerns when I look at stuff where people sit there and say, well, it's a lifetime warranty, right? And I think to myself, whose lifetime? Like, is it my lifetime? Is it your lifetime? Is it the lifetime of your business? Because if you've been in business 2 years and you're sitting there going, this is a lifetime warranty, and you close shop next year, where's my lifetime warranty at? And so for you guys being in the business for 15 years, and the first thing you notice when you go to your page, you go to your web page up at the top, it says something like lifetime warranty. Right.
I have lots of lifetime warranty product, but again, nothing we sell is builder grade. Everything I have is industry standard or better.
Right.
And better can go a long ways.
And knowing that you're here in the community, selling in the yard that listen, I can control. I'm not selling up in New Jersey where I got to go catch a flight up there to go check on a lifetime warranty thing or contract somebody out. I'm selling in an area that I can get in my car and I can get to you and we can make right anything that may go wrong in this situation. Right. Lifetime warranty also being, we were discussing earlier, lifetime warranties they're as good as the business is, right? They're as good as the people in that business. And lifetime warranty doesn't necessarily mean lifetime warranty, like we'll do everything from free for this point on out. We're discussing that as well too. Like you still have to charge labor and things like that to go out. But lifetime warranty is the fact that if there's parts on there that break, if there's parts on there that need to be replaced as a part of that guarantee, that you guys aren't out there going, well, it's really lifetime on just this little piece. Y'all are going, look, we're lifetime warranting all of this. We're just charging you when we have to come back out. We have to charge you for the labor expense to do that. But you're not going to have to pay for another part in this particular deal for this long of this door. And so if you're here, you live in the community, I don't have to worry about it. I don't have to contact an 800 number. You're not a home warranty service where I've got to okay, Chris, so this is happening. Well, here's the steps that we go through, and they're really small steps before you have to get to the really big stuff. The home warranties like to do all the smallest little things they can possibly do to not spend the money to make it right. And when it's in your backyard and you know that person, again, can jump on next door and blast you, good or bad, you're going to take care of the stuff that you install to ensure that it is the quality product that you back sold it as and that they believed in when they purchased. So literally stamp your name on the door, man, because you're like, I am good for it. And people speak to that day in and day out when it comes to the referrals that you guys get for your business. So I'm proud of what you've done, man. I mean, your story in general is just inspiring to know that, quite honestly, I mean, there was a moment in your life that you wouldn't even be sitting here in most cases. I'm sure when your dad and your brother experienced that accident with you, I'm sure that fear of your family standing in a hallway, listening to Red Duke talk about the 50-50 chance and all of that other stuff, probably never at this point would have led to this moment where people can look back on that and go, remember when? But yet here you are as a success of going, I got past all of this stuff to prove that it doesn't matter. This can be a setback, and it's a good story. Don't get me wrong, man. I mean, sit down in here, we were talking about when we were going through your background, you're like, we can really get down the rabbit hole on my background.
Say how long you want to talk about it.
I was like, but to know that not only did this not hamper you and hold you back, that it really probably refocused you more than anything else on what's important in your life. And then you've just taken those pieces and rolled them up into a success story of a small business that's doing it customer by customer, door by door. And you're doing that every day, so I'm sure there's not, I know you can go to your Facebook page and your Facebook page says, hey, we're 8 to 5. I think it's 8 to 5 Monday through Friday and Saturday 8 to 12, right? But the reality of that is if somebody's calling you and it's going to your cell phone, I mean, you're not going to pass up an opportunity to take care of the customer.
Customers call me all the time, and they text me all the time. And if I'm not busy, I reply. Sure. If I can be there for you, I will be.
Sure.
That's part of what we are. And if I can't be, understand that I'm busy with my family, and I'm going to get back to you the next working business day.
That's good. And the ability to be able to kind of turn it off, but know like, hey, you're still my priority, but you're my priority in this window. So
when my wife tells me to turn it off, it's turned off. Otherwise, I'm very alert to it.
Man, I get it. I understand her. Been there, done that. So, but we're grateful to have you in the community. We're grateful that the prayers and that God answered the prayer to be able to put you back into where you were supposed to be. You're supposed to be here taking care of people, man. That's what you've been doing for the last 15 years of running this business. So, and y'all do it better than anybody else. I can personally speak to that myself. I was blessed to have you as a go-to for when we needed somebody to be there. It wasn't like I had to wait a tremendous amount of time, and your eagerness to be able to take care of it, along with your honesty to be able to do it in a fashion that I didn't feel like there was any kind of advantage taken. And I still feel like I got the best deal probably out of anybody that's out there. But
everyone that got those 3 dozen doors, they got the best deal.
Somewhere there's 35 more of us out there that you took care of in that deal. So, but it's a value to have businesses like you in the community that are pouring in, just trying to make it. I mean, you're just trying to give a successful business name out there to people so that they know there are reliable businesses out there that can take care of them and not break their pocketbook to do it either. That there's still businesses to be run and money to be made, but also happy customers to be left behind to preach the story about how good their experience was with your business. So you're doing that every day, man.
Yes, sir.
So we appreciate it. Love the fact that you came on here to tell your story. Grateful to be able to call you a friend to come here and have this conversation with us. And again, if you guys need anything, let's talk about how they can get a hold of you, preferably during the business hours.
Business hours.
So you can reach Chris over at Aggieland Garage Door website. They can reach you at aggielandgaragedoor.com, or they can reach you at 979-696-8208. Man, I got that right. I didn't even ask you. Usually in pre-show I ask if that's all correct, but I just assumed I was good on it.
That's right. And you can text that business line too.
Nice. So if you have something you're putting off, maybe you're thinking about getting that garage door replaced, or you got some little squeaks, things in there that maybe need to get looked at, holler at Chris over here and he'll send the guys out to take a look at what's going on, or you're going to see Chris personally come out to you to inspect what you got going on. And you can definitely flip your trust over into him and his company, his brothers over there, because they're doing the right thing for the Bryan-College Station area. And again, Chris, we're just so grateful you came on to share your story, and best of luck to you as we move forward in the future. And again, Chris Symons over here at Aggieland Garage Door, getting it done here in the Bryan-College Station area. So thank you so much, Chris. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir. I really enjoyed it.
It was a pleasure. Guys, we appreciate you joining us and listening to another episode of BCS Community Connections, and we look forward to talking to you on the next podcast. Have a great day.